Good evening. We're going to start our meeting tonight with Mr. Castellanos leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll all stay standing afterwards for about a minute, we'll do a silent prayer.
Please face the flag, place your hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Valles? Commissioner Holtz? Commissioner Castellanos?
Present.
Commissioner Blackburn? Here. Chairman Menifee?
Present. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the September 24th meeting. Any comments about them?
No. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Oral communications. This is the time when any member of the public may speak to the Commission on any matter within the scope of duties assigned to the Commission relating to non-agendized items. Other matters included on this agenda may be addressed when that item is under consideration. For all oral communications, the chairperson may impose reasonable limitations on public comments to assure orderly and timely meeting. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the Planning Commission and staff's ability to respond to public comments at this meeting. Thus, your comments may be agendized for a future meeting or referred to staff. The Commission may ask questions for clarification if desired at this time. By policy, the Commission, communications, at this time on the agenda is limited to a total of 15 minutes. Persons who are not afforded the opportunity to speak at this time may do so under item E later on your agenda. Anyone wish to speak on an item that's not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none. There is no consent calendar, and so we'll move to the next item, which is public hearings. The first public hearing is a zone change, a tentative tract map, a tree removal permit, and mitigated negative declaration of environment impact for the Warmington Residential, California. The location 502 and 520 South Lark Ellen Avenue, formerly St. Martha's Episcopal Church, and the Dove Day School, I believe. Construction of 45 single-family homes and open space on a 5.7-acre property. The houses would be comprised of 3-bedroom homes that include 2 driveway parking spaces and 2 garage spaces. A total of 204 parking spaces would be provided. Access to the site would be provided via a gated entrance on Lark Ellen Avenue. Staff report, please.
Associate Planner Ron Garcia will be presenting that report.
Thank you.
Having some technical difficulties, so give us one moment. That's this one.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. The applicant is requesting the approval of a residential development project comprised of 45 single-family units. A mitigated negative declaration of environmental impact was prepared. The public review period of the neg deck ran from September 20th and ended on October 10th. Legal notices were published in the San Gabriel Tribune, posted at City Hall, the library, the police department, as well as a notice board at the site. And notices were mailed to 224 owners and occupants within of properties located within 300 feet of the subject site. The project site consists of St. Martha's Episcopal Church parcel that contains a church, partial hall, a parish hall, classroom building, office building, a modular building, and parking area. The second parcel, located in the northwest portion of the project site, is the Dove Day School Preschool and Residence. That parcel contains a residence, 3 buildings, and a playground. These buildings are vacant and will be demolished to accommodate the proposed development. The subject property is located in an urbanized area and is approximately 0.5 miles south of the 10 freeway. The site is bounded by the Walnut Creek Wash, single-family homes, and a church, South Hills Church of Christ to the north, and single and multifamily residences to the east. Single-family residence to the south along Larkwood Street, and to the west across Lark Allen Avenue. The applicant's request, again, consists of the following entitlements. The first, zone change from single-family residential to specific plan 26 that would provide building design and development centers to govern the development. Second, a tract map to subdivide the 5.7 acre site into 56 lots, of which 45 are single-family lots and 6 common lots for streets and open space. And lastly, a tree removal permit to remove a California sycamore and 2 other trees within the front setback to allow for grading and construction of the project. The subject property is triangular in shape with frontage and road access on Lark Allen Avenue. The proposed project would be a gated development. Access to the lots within the subdivision would be provided through a private street with access via a gated entrance on Lark Allen Avenue. The private street would run parallel with Lark Allen and provide access to those 10 lots. The main private street would continue through the project site, curve around the proposed park, and continue to the east end of the project site with 3 spurs providing access to the lots along the route. A cul-de-sac would be provided near the east end of the project site and would provide a vehicle turnaround. The applicant has designed the project to comply with the city's standards for security gates by providing a 20-foot driving aisle to meet the fire department access requirements. A turnaround space and pedestrian gate. The 25-foot wide private street within the development would accommodate up to 24 on-street parking spaces throughout the site, which will serve as guest parking. The mailboxes for the dwelling units will be located on the easterly end of the cul-de-sac of the project. An open space located in the center of the site would provide a play structure, amenities, barbecue grills, picnic tables with shade structures, benches, etc. A decorative perimeter wall will be constructed along Lark Allen Avenue. The wall will be a stucco block wall that will be 6 feet in height. The project includes a 6-foot tall solid vinyl fence along all interior side yards and the entire southern boundary of the development. Along the northern boundary of the development area abutting the Walnut Creek Wash, the proposal is for a 3-foot tall combination decorative stucco block wall and 3-foot open vinyl fence with a maximum height of 6 feet. Low water use landscaping will be utilized for the project. Landscape areas include common open space as indicated in the center of the property. The perimeter wall along the front of the site, Lark Allen Avenue, will also provide a 15-foot wide landscape area to soften the wall and enhance the overall design. A hedge is provided along the southeasterly property line along lots 27, 28, and F in an attempt to provide privacy to the single-family houses on Larkwood Street. Hedges are proposed in areas where screening is appropriate, such as adjacent to the common open spaces and on either side of the entry driveway. The proposed project also includes trees, which will also have the potential to grow to heights in excess of 30 feet and buffer views from the existing residence to the south and east along Larkwood Street. A condition of approval has been included requiring that the HOA ensure that the proposed trees throughout the site are preserved and maintained over time. The applicant is proposing a 4-foot side yard setback as a standard in the specific plan and has designed the development with an 8-foot building separation utilizing the perceived zero lot line concept. In the proposed development, 7 of the proposed lots include at least 5-foot or greater side yard. The remaining houses are therefore separated by 8 feet. The 8-foot separation would be utilized by 38 of the properties, with the opposing property granting easement rights. This concept allows for homes to be constructed so that eaves extend over perceived property lines. The location of the walls will give the impression that there is a zero lot line between the properties. However, the actual property line will be the midpoint between the 2 units. It is at this discretion of the Planning Commission to approve all setbacks as part of the specific plan approval. Therefore, the Planning Commission can approve the proposed side yard setback utilizing the zero lot line concept. The proposed specific plan would establish the development standards that are summarized and outlined in the staff report as attachment 4 in your staff report. Historically, when specific plan developments are proposed, the planning department has recommended consistent minimum development standards. The chart above indicates the recommended standards. Front yard at 10 feet. The applicant is proposing 4 feet for 4 of the lots and 9 feet for 41 of the lots. The side yard setback recommended standard is 5 feet. The project is proposing 4 feet for 38 of the lots and 5 feet for 7 lots. The rear yard setback recommendation is 15 feet. 8 foot 6 inch is proposed for 1 lot and 10 feet is proposed for 44 of the lots. And lastly, driveway length of 20 feet is recommended. 3 lots are proposing an 18-foot 1 inch driveway length and 20 feet for 42 of the lots. As indicated in attachment 4, the Planning Commission or City Council has sometimes approved standards less than recommended. There has been a variety in standards approved for front yard, rear yards, and driveway lengths. This would allow the applicant to develop the lots while still complying with the proposed specific plan development standards. The dwelling units would be 2-story and range from 2,097 square feet to 2,470 square feet and designed to provide a total of 4 parking spaces. 2 covered parking spaces within the garage and 2 uncovered parking spaces in the driveway. The project proposes 3 floor plans. The first floor plan would range between 764 square feet and 871 square feet and include an entryway, a den, living room, bathroom, dining room, and kitchen. The second floor would range from 933 square feet to 1,199, which would include a master bedroom with a bathroom, 2 additional bedrooms, and an additional bathroom and laundry room. The project proposes 3 plans and 2 architectural design types, Spanish and Californian. Both designs incorporate a roof pitch design of hip or gable. The exterior elevations will consist of sand finished stucco. The buildings would feature architectural details such as Spanish style clay piping, decorative wrought iron planters on the 2nd story, and decorative revival dormers, quatrefoil windows, and window shutters to break up the mass and provide a more interesting design. The roof materials will consist of concrete barrel tile. The Californian architectural type will incorporate a sand finish stucco, stone fascia, hardy plank siding, and windows will be enhanced by foam stucco or wood trim. In addition, the front elevation provides a small front porch or covered entry area. And the color scheme for the units are a variation of beige, brown, and other earth tone colors. The roof materials will consist of concrete flat composite tile. The proposal also includes enhanced privacy features for all the homes along the southerly property line. The applicant has designed the side elevation on each home facing the southerly property line with ornamental opaque fixed windows or wood louvered panel shutters. To provide a greater amount by providing the enhanced privacy elevations would provide a greater amount of privacy for the houses and the rear yard areas for the houses on Larkwood Street. Phasing, the submitted plans indicate that the project will be completed in 7 phases. As indicated in the PowerPoint, Phase 1, construction of 3 model homes located on the northwesterly corner of the site would be done under Phase 1, and also completion of all on-site and off-site improvements, including the perimeter fencing, improvements along Lark Ellen, and interior streets will be completed prior to the completion of the model homes. Phase 2 would be construction of lots 38 through 45 on the southwesterly corner of the site. Phase 3 would be lots 7 through 12 located on the northwest area of the site. Phase 4 would also include construction of lots 13 through 15, 33 through 37, which are located on the northerly and southerly center of the site. Phase 5 includes construction of lots 16, 19, 29, and 32, which are located north and southeasterly portion of the property. And Phase 6 would be construction of lots 20 through 28, located in the eastern most portion of the property. And lastly, Phase 7, construction of lots 4 through 6, located in the northwest portion of the site, and installation of the security gate will conclude Phase 7. The applicant did indicate that they estimate that the construction of the project will take approximately 1 year. As indicated previously, a M&D was prepared indicating the project will not have a significant effect on the environment. Mitigation measures have been incorporated into the project's design and as conditions of approval to reduce impacts on the environment to less than significant. The public review period, again, for the neg deck ran through September 20th and ended on October 10th. On Monday, October 21st, staff received several comments for the M&D after the comment period, addressing the historical significance of the former St. Martha's Episcopal Church. Staff has provided for your review and consideration a response letter from the consultant who conducted the historic resource report. Additionally, a traffic study was prepared by KOA and was submitted for the project to assess the potential traffic impacts. 7 intersections were analyzed, as indicated in your staff report. The findings of the traffic study indicate that the project would generate approximately 34 a.m. peak hour trips, 45 p.m. peak hour trips. The project would add 428 daily trips onto the street system. The current volume of traffic on South Lark Allen Avenue is 2,516 trips daily. The increase of 63 trips represents a 2.5% increase. The study did conclude that the proposed project will not create a significant traffic impact at any of the 7 study intersections. Lastly, in addition to the traffic study, air quality study was prepared. The construction and operation emissions are below significant regional thresholds as mitigation measures are required. In conclusion, the subject property has been utilized for religious purposes and as a daycare for several decades. The subject property is primarily surrounded by single-family residences, but is also adjacent to a religious use and multifamily residences. The use that is most compatible with the surrounding uses is therefore a single-family use. The proposed project is in compliance with the general plan and density and is consistent with the surrounding single-family properties. The applicant has designed the residential units to reduce privacy impacts to the neighboring properties by providing landscape buffers and opaque windows on the second-story windows. The applicant is providing common open space areas for the benefit of the project residents. While the proposal for the subject property will be different than the previous use of the property, the proposed single-family development is consistent and compatible with the surrounding uses. Staff therefore recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolutions recommending approval to the City Council the zone change and certifying the MND, and also adopting a resolution approving the track map and the tree removal permit. As I conclude staff's presentation, I just wanted to bring your attention during the review period as the staff report and the attached documents went out for review. There are just two things that staff would like to indicate for cleanup. The first is page 49 of the specific plan. Page 49 of the specific plan indicates that the sewer connection would be out to the Walnut Creek. It should read a private storm drain system located within the driveways proposed to discharge onto Lark Allen, not the wash. On-site flow shall be treated prior to discharging from the site. The second is a revision to condition 19 under engineering comments under the track map resolution, and that is located on page 17 of the track map resolution. And that should read, parking on private driveway lots A will be prohibited except where parking is designated and shown on the approved site plan and/or track map. That concludes staff's presentation. We have Miguel Hernandez here from the Public Works Department if you have any further questions. The applicant is present as well as the environmental consultant, the traffic consultant, and the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. At this time, then, we will have public testimony. I'm going to limit the public testimony to 5 minutes because there are a number of people who would like to speak and would like to keep this meeting moving along. So the first name I have is Jerry West. Mr. West, if you'd come up to the microphone and state your name and address.
Hey. Chairman Menifee, we do have the applicant here. Typically, we allow the applicant questions from the planning commissioners first before we take public testimony from the general public.
Oh,
So-
excuse me. I stand corrected.
That was quick.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. West. We'll call you in just a moment.
That's not eating up my 5 minutes.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Where are the speaker cards? No, someone
It
needs.
should be down there. Are there no speaker cards down there?
Oh, there's some right here.
Okay. All right. Excuse me, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commissioners, staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil Becerra. I'm from Warmington Residential. The project before you this evening, Catanera, represents the collaboration of some great people. First of all, your staff, including Jeff, Fabiola, and Ron, our wonderful team of consultants who will be available to answer any of your questions this evening. They include JZMK Architects, B&E Engineers, Impact Sciences, and KOA Traffic Engineering. And very importantly, the community. At Warmington, we pride ourselves on being good neighbors. Back in April, we held a meeting at Dove Daycare, right on the project site, where we sent out invites to residents and property owners within 300 feet of the project site. We received some really great input from those folks that we did our best to incorporate into the project that's before you this evening. Now, after listening to the concerns of approximately 35 nearby residents in attendance at that meeting, we increased the amount of on-site parking within the development. We made adjustments to the proposed southern-facing elevations so that we would ensure that the residents of Catanera would not be able to look into the adjacent backyards of the homes along Larkwood. Those adjustments include windows along the southern-facing elevation being opaque. I have an example here I'd like to pass along. Now, that will be the glass that will be used on that southern elevation, and it will be required per the specific plan that's before you this evening. In addition to our community meeting, I personally visited individual residents along Larkwood to share those changes with those closest to the project site. While I had the opportunity to speak with many residents who were interested in our proposed project, I did not have the opportunity to discuss our project with those who have sent emails within the last 40 hours that were questioning the results of the Historic Resources Evaluation Report. ASM affiliate senior architectural historian Shannon Davis conducted the research and prepared that report, and we have absolute confidence in her assessment of the structures on that project site. Ms. Davis has over 16 years of professional experience in the field of historic preservation, including 8 years as a historian with the National Register of Historic Places. Ms. Davis is based out of ASM affiliates nearby Pasadena office. Unfortunately, given the short notice, she was not able to make it this evening. But she did submit a written response to those emails that were sent just Monday, and I believe Ron has given those to you. I would also like to take this opportunity to address some of the concerns in those emails. Again, the Historic Resources Evaluation Report's conclusions were reached after thorough research of many various sources. And based on the experience of our consultant and her over 16 years of professional experience in the field of historic preservation, the Historic Resources Evaluation Report does not include in-depth research of the work of the architect Carlton Winslow Jr., who is the architect of record for St. Martha's Church. But that's because Mr. Winslow had very few principal works, and of those, only 3 were churches. He was listed only 2 years in the American Architecture Directory and spent a great deal of time teaching, which is very noble, but not designing structures in the modern style. One of the emails that you probably read attempted to compare Mr. Winslow to famed modern architect Richard Neutra. Mr. Neutra had 12 of his buildings proclaimed as historic cultural monuments and was featured in Manhattan's Museum of Modern Art's exhibit on modern architecture. Mr. Winslow, unfortunately, does not compare to Richard Neutra. St. Martha's inclusion in Architectural Record magazine in 1956 and the 1957 publication of Religious Buildings for Today help us understand the perspectives of the church at the time it was designed. But those articles do not give us the full historical perspective or allow us to consider the church in the full context of modernism. Now, West Covina is very fortunate to have many fine examples of modern architecture, but there are particular structures that are considered exceptional examples of modern architecture. In fact, we are currently inside one of them right now. City Hall was constructed in the 1960s and could be considered a far more exceptional example of modern architecture than that of St. Martha's. Another exceptional example of modern architecture in West Covina is First Baptist Church on Cameron, which is just right around the corner from St. Martha's. First Baptist roofline is an example of a very exceptional modern architectural feature. One of the few modern features of St. Martha's that was noted in a local architectural publication were metal stars that were suspended in front of the wall by wires. Now, those stars are no longer present at St. Martha's today. I would like to conclude my remarks with a presentation of the features that could be a part of the project site. The architects at JZMK have put together a wonderful presentation of what the built environment will look like at Cadenera. We can cue that up.
Thank you, Phil. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm Jason Ficht. I am the Director of Planning with the firm JZMK Partners, and we had the privilege of working on this project with Phil and his team. And so what we've prepared for you here tonight is a 3-minute video presentation that really helps, and its goal is to enhance the understanding of the project. Here, flying in through the project entry with project signage, you can see the gated entry as you would enter the project site. This model is to scale, gives you an understanding of the spatial relationships, scale, massing, color to a certain extent, and the different attributes of the plan. One of the things also that we're emphasizing is landscape, walkability, providing a curb-separated sidewalk on the left-hand side of this street here. and then an emphasis on the architectural character, that you have a diversity of architectural styles massing as you move down the street scene. The other thing that we're trying to do in the architectural components is de-emphasize the garage, which tends, unfortunately, in a lot of contemporary developments to dominate the street scene, by pushing that back a bit and emphasizing the entries into the homes, which is something that we're attempting to do on the architecture itself. And then you can look down. This is one of the streets facing south. And then privacy fencing on the side, so you're looking southward here. And then you come to the park space that greets you as you enter the project from the gated entry. We're going to fly over that in a minute. As Ron talked about, an amenity package that would be included in that park space to enhance the livability of the community and provide areas for play. And then the all-important south view, and we've done a number of things on the south elevation. We've talked about the window glazing, but also the spacing of the buildings, that we didn't line up the homes along that southerly property line to create distances between, or spaces between the homes. That's where those stub streets come in, but it provides, and you have at least one less home because you have that street that comes down to the property line. And then the enhanced or larger setback that we have along the southerly property line. This comes around to the eastern side of the site looking west, so you can see the tip and the shape of the parcel, and then it will fly back over to the entry of the project site. So again, this is a tool to help enhance understanding of both the architecture and how the architecture fits on the property itself. Thank you.
Heck of a presentation, huh? So I just want to finish up by saying, if this plan is approved, not only will that attractive project be built, but approximately $1 million in fees will also be paid in various permits and fees between the city of West Covina and the school district. Myself and our consultants are available for any questions that the commission may have.
And I think it would be appropriate at this time to ask if the commissioners have any questions of you.
If the project is approved, when would be the starting date that you'd be shooting for?
At this point right now, it would be contingent upon recording the final map. So once we complete those plans, we're looking at anywhere probably between, let's say, about 8 months, 6 to 8 months.
And you said you spoke to all the residents around there and all issues were resolved with everyone who had concerns?
Well, what we did, like I said, I personally have walked along Larkwood to speak to those folks, because I believe that where our project is located, those would be the folks that would have the most impact. And I showed them basically what we've done since our first meeting in April, to show them what we've attempted to do as far as any sort of mitigation along that southern elevation, like the opaque glass, faux shutters, so there won't be any opportunities for future residents to look down into the homes or the backyards of Larkwood. And so I've made a point to want to reach out to everybody and let them know this is what we're hoping to accomplish. And for the most part, I felt that I got a fair reception. I know folks are concerned about any change on the site, but I think for what we're proposing and working with them from our original proposal to what you see before you today, I think we've done a great job of mitigating that.
Excuse me, I really don't have any questions to ask you. I just want to tell the audience here that I was there at that meeting on April, and the main concern was the windows, and they have done something about it, the rear, and also too with the traffic. And I noticed there was a study done on the traffic. So that's the only thing I have to report on it right now.
If I might add, Commissioner, that was another issue that was brought up, and you're correct. And what we did was added a couple more parking spaces. I mean, the site is very deep, and so there's probably not a lot of people that are going to, look to get to the back of that site and maybe park somewhere else. But nonetheless, we wanted to make sure that we could address it to the best that we could. And so after hearing those comments at that meeting, we went back with our architects and our civil engineer, and thankfully we were able to find a few more spots. So that meeting was very helpful for us, and I think it really improved the project that you guys have before you.
I have one question. Maybe it's just my misunderstanding. You mentioned the windows as being opaque,
Yes.
and you passed around a piece of glass that I thought was translucent. Is there a difference that I don't understand?
That's when we ask our window folks, that's what they'd given us when we had
But
requested.
translucent lets light through. It just won't let you look through it.
Yeah, it's just, there isn't that clear visibility. So in other words, folks within the homes will not be able to look clearly down. So
Right.
the folks in the backyard don't have to worry that someone's able to clearly see
But it
them.
will let light in.
Correct.
So it is translucent, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you, thank you.
No, not at all. They will be fixed windows, so there will not be any openings there.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions? Thank you. All right, at
Thank
this
you.
time, we're going to open up the public testimony. And as I mentioned earlier, we'd like you to keep yourself to 5 minutes maximum so that we can move through the number of cards that we have. Mr. West, if you'd come back, please.
Hey, my name's Jerry West. I'm one of the residents on Lockwood Street. 5 minutes is not a whole lot of time to present what I have to say, but yes, we did have a meeting with Bill and Jay. We explained some of our concerns, and as far as I know, no concerns has been met. They did add a few more parking spots, but I had the understanding that was because of the city requirements. We, as residents of Larkwood, would like them to build something similar to the neighborhood. Maybe 20 houses there, all single level, something that would blend in. 42, well, it started at 42. After our meeting, it went up to 45. And we just feel that's pretty excessive. I do have a petition that went around, and the houses that we went to, I think we have probably about a 95% in favor of downsizing this project. It's the other pages in here. There it is here. Who would? One of the...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Let the record reflect we've been submitted a petition from the speaker.
Go ahead, sir.
This is not really trying to take away the project. It's just to downsize it, to make it more friendly to the people that's living there. My main, one of my concerns is if the city follows up and tells them to go by the recommendations of setbacks, they would have to go with 27 houses or something. Right now, they're not even coming close to the recommendation for setbacks. The other thing I want to do in my last 2.5 minutes is an issue of traffic. You did the traffic study to me, it wasn't a very honest study. In the month of July, you have West Covina High School's not in session. You have Cameron's not in session. It's not a very honest traffic study. You have Lark Ellen coming down from the south side of the 10 freeway, starting at South Garvey to the construction site. You have it just single lane. Lark Ellen goes through what? 3 cities? West Covina, Covina, Azusa. 2 lanes in each direction, except this one area for 1/3 of a mile, 1 lane in each direction. You have people coming under the freeway. They kind of jockey around trying to get in front of everybody. Pretty dangerous. And then you got inpatient drivers, once you're leaving that area, which is basically right in front of the construction site, they're so upset as soon as it goes up to 2 lanes, they're trying to get around you. There's been multiple accidents on the 6 streets that tee into Lark Ellen. And then going north, it's the same situation. Going in front of Larkwood, in front of the construction site, you have cars just speeding, trying to get in front to be the lead car going. The city of West Covina owns the property to widen it, you know, on the west side of the street. From the sidewalk to the curb, there's 15 feet of parkway. When is the city going to open that section up? And if they did open it up, it would make this look a little safer to do. But right now, a traffic study in July, be honest, you know, how honest of a study was that with the high school there? But yeah, our concern is the traffic and the downside. Just go with 30 houses. We live on Larkwood. We have 27 houses on 10 acres. We do have a large lot of close to 10,000
Speakers
acres.
at 5 minutes.
Mr. West.
Just cut it down to 7,000 acres and make it feasible.
Thank you.
Yep.
David Schwartz.
Hi, my name is David Schwartz. I live on Service Avenue that tees into Lark Ellen Avenue. I'm not going to say a lot because Jerry West said quite a bit. I don't know him just from being here. I think it's great that West Covina wants to expand our business and residents to get a better tax base that runs our city. I don't think this project was thought out, though. With the church being gone and Dove Day being gone and crowding in this many houses, the infrastructure of West Covina cannot handle the traffic. And I agree with Jerry West that the study is not a valid study if it was done in July or at any time. I've lived here for 54 years. I'm very familiar with it, that Lark Ellen Avenue, since the city of West Covina changed it, as Jerry West said, down to 1 lane, it's very dangerous for residents coming off the side streets. Now that Dove Day School is gone, I think you can open up the speed limit, take it back up to 35 miles an hour instead of 25. And I think you can put back 2 lanes and get rid of that stupid bike lane or whatever you guys painted on the side there. It's very dangerous, like Jerry said, coming underneath the San Bernardino Freeway, of vehicles having to merge all the way from 2 lanes into 1. And if people are not familiar and you put in a left turn pocket where you never had before, it's very dangerous. There's cars always merging at the last minute. Also, anybody making a right turn, it gets backed up. It's very dangerous coming off of Service Avenue when you want to turn northbound, you can't see. I think they need to put red curb from Service Avenue to Walnut Creek so the cars can't park there to block the vision. I also think there's going to be so much traffic. You're talking maybe 45 homes, 4 people a home. You're talking almost 200 people. Plus with your new development on Valinda and Service with the other church, how many houses are in that one? Does anybody know? Mr. Anderson, do you know how many houses have gone in on Valinda and Service?
You should be addressing your comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can ask questions. We can answer them at the end.
Okay. Well, any event, it's adding extra congestion that is already way too much. At Christmas time or any other, even summer, the Vincent off-ramp gets so backed up, the signals don't work properly to allow enough traffic to go through, and it backs up and it becomes congestion. It'll take me 15 minutes to get off the off-ramp on a Vincent to get to my home on Service Avenue. I think West Covina has to take a very big look that if they're going to allow a development with 45 homes, that they have to improve the infrastructure. They should go back like they had in the 1950s and 60s and maybe ask the state to put an off-ramp from eastbound San Bernardino Freeway onto Glendora Avenue. to relieve the traffic that's everybody's getting off on Vincent. And I don't know what you guys are doing with the old Wicks Furniture Company, but I heard that you guys want to put in retail and then a multi-story high-rise. We cannot handle the traffic and the load that is being proposed tonight. West Covina has to do something very major to lighten up the traffic, the congestion, and just the general flow. The street I live on is now going to become a major thoroughfare for people going to this complex. I don't think it's fair that we have to brunt that load. And I think the people on Walnut Creek Parkway are also going to bear some of the load. If this is going to be considered, West Covina has to consider doing major infrastructure first before they allow even the sewer lines that 200 people eliminating. We have to have the infrastructure for it. The water use, everything. I don't think we can support this big of a development. It either has to be scaled back or West Covina has to do very major improvements in the area. On Lark Ellen Avenue, on Vincent, on Glendora. Azusa's already, you can't do much with Azusa right now. You can open up Garvey Avenue like it used to be, where I think it used to come directly straight. It never
Speakers at
Mr.
5 minutes.
Schwartz.
Okay.
Thank you. Sharon Anderson.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Anderson. I live at 1513 East Larkwood. I've lived in West Covina all my life, right in that general area. I grew up at 1227 Larkwood and moved to 1513 Larkwood, so I didn't go far. And if my parents could see this city now, they'd be rolling over in their graves. This is disgusting. We all understand that they're going to put something in there. I would like to see the house on the south side be a number one, one story only, not a two-story. All of us have enjoyed our views of the mountain. I have a 180-degree view of the mountain. Now, if I sit in my patio, I can see Mount Wilson. I'm not going to be able to see any of that anymore. I moved there because I could have that privacy and see the mountains, no more. And like Jerry and David, I grew up with David. David and I used to live right across the street from each other. He still lives in that house, and I still own the house over there. The traffic is going to be terrible. We would like on Larkwood also to have permit parking, so the overflow of people, because there are going to be overflow of people, and if they put that many houses in there, we would like to have permit parking on our street, Larkwood. Now, I would assume that they would like that also on Service all around in that general area. I just can't reiterate enough everything that Jerry and David both said. Thank you very much. Boy, I'm nice.
Can I have some of her thoughts?
Sure, go ahead, Jerry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kyle Dawson. I live at 926 East Herring. I'm here for a little bit of a different reason than some of the comments that I've heard so far. And I do appreciate, I wanted to say thank you to Mr. Garcia for speaking to me last week about some concerns I have about the preservation of that site and the church itself. I know that, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read, some of the emails that came in and the remarks that were made, but I've lived in West Covina for over 16 years, and that church has always been a very enjoyable place to not only to drive by, but I've had a chance to tour the site, go inside of it, and enjoy it in that aspect. I don't think the city of West Covina has very much mid-century modern architecture to begin with. Yes, the building we're in is great. It's one of the things I saw from the freeway that made me pull over to look for a home. but we're losing it at a very high rate as well. And so I know that we have, experts on our side that say, this is a better example of a nice church, and there's experts on the other side that say, well, but we think these are better examples. I think as a city that we should be able to decide what we want to preserve. And I would agree with the residents that live in that area. I don't live very far from there. The congestion that happens with the high school would probably only be compounded by further congestion with 45 more homes going in there. So from the remarks I've heard so far and what I came here and planned to say, I wrote out a lot of stuff, but now I'm realizing I don't even need it. I'm not opposed to new housing going in there, but I am against the wholesale demolition of that facility. There's 4 buildings there that were built by the same architect, which is kind of a rarity to find from that period. And I think that at least it would be nice to be able to save the chapel. It could be repurposed. I believe that that's an important tool that you can use when you're trying to make a compromise in a case like this. It could be a recreation center for the new residents. It could remain a place of worship as a non-denominational community church. I'm not sure of what all the possibilities are because I just heard about this on Thursday. So I apologize for getting involved in it so late, but I just didn't know. So again, I think that it's very important in a city like ours where we don't have a lot of this type of architecture to begin with. I do think it's important to preserve some good examples. And from what I know about architecture and looking at it and enjoying it for so many years, that's a very good example of mid-century modern architecture. The other styles are nice as well, but they express an entirely different type of modernism than that church does. I think a lot of people look at it and they say, well, it's just a simple rectangular box. What's so special about it? It's the way the materials are used, the expression of those materials, the variety of the materials. Anyone that's ever been in that church at a certain time of day will notice how the sunlight comes through. It's a very unique place. So I think that we should take pause to at least consider saving something that once it's gone forever. We can't get that back. So I would propose, which is what I was kind of thinking all along, some way to compromise, scale back the housing, save that building, at least that one building, and try to keep everyone happy. So that's really what I came here to say. Thank you so much.
Hello. My name is Jackie Dunn. I was born at Queen of the Valley Hospital. I grew up on Larkwood, and I've lived right where I live right where that middle house is on one of the models right now. This has been my family has run the Dove Day School for over 50 years, and this has been kind of a roller coaster ride. We first heard about this. We heard that we were going to have a bunch of homes on the church property, and we were really excited because we're all about families, and these are beautiful homes for families to grow up into. And then I heard that they would like to build homes where we are. But the good thing for us was that we've moved, and actually about 90% of our population of children moved with us, and all of our teachers. So I was able to keep jobs for all my teachers, and we have moved into a facility that's run by a company that has more resources than we did at being the one-shop pony. And so we're in a position where we are going to be applying for our WASC accreditation at the end of the second semester. That's when we qualify for it, which was something we could never do in the site that we were at. We have a more extensive infant facility and a more extensive option for 2-year-olds where we are. My principal will be able to talk more about what we're able to do. The children, I asked them to write things, and they mostly wanted to talk about the swings because we have swings now and a pool. So I didn't know if that would matter to you. One of the things that's of interest is currently on that property where the first 6 houses are to the north, up until June 17th, or June 14th rather, you've had 120 people there every single day. That's a minimum. That includes all of the employees, and that's low point of enrollment. Sometimes it was more than that. So when you talk about people coming and going from a site, I can't speak to what was at St. Martha's, but at one time they had a full elementary and preschool too. You're talking about 100 cars coming in the morning and leaving, and then in the evening, 100 cars coming and leaving. And now they weren't taking showers or doing laundry there, but I had 120 people spending the largest portion of their day there using that sewer system for all the things that people do without doing laundry and taking showers. So you've already seen that. It's a really, actually, a very real-life indication of what the traffic will be. Actually, I'm thinking it would be less, but I don't know what those statistics are for a home. But this was, if you don't like that lane, then you can thank me and Tom Puchalski, who used to be on the Planning Commission. We were hoping that would slow people down in front of that little school, and they're right. It makes people impatient and makes them want to go faster. The only thing is that you will lose a lot of people parking on the street. I had 10 cars just park on the street. The employees parked on the street. Usually 10, sometimes more than that, would park on the street. And since I live there, I can tell you no one's parking on the street. It's pretty quiet around there, except for the homeless people that now live in St. Martha's. So they are residents there on the church property. They're not the neighbors that I was hoping for, but it has been put to use. And so it would be, I think that the plans that we saw today were much more attractive than what's currently happening there. We're fine. Dove Day School, it will be Dove Day School. We are changing the name. San Dimas doesn't have as many services for residents as West Covina does, and so I'm choosing to stay in West Covina, and I'll be looking to live in West Covina. We're making inquiries on property in West Covina. It's a great place to live. These people, if this goes through, these people will be very happy to live here. This was a good choice for them. And again, because I'm about families, I have to say this is a good choice for families. That's all.
Good evening. My name is Sue Dunn, and obviously you probably guessed my husband and I own that property, Dove Day School, and have owned Dove Day School since 1980, and at my high school year, 53 years ago, my mother founded that school. So, been there a while. When we learned that St. Martha's was leaving, we were concerned. We heard that houses were going in, and that sounded like something that would be maintained and well kept. If you go over there right now and look at St. Martha's, you will see a very, very sad place. The reason my daughter stayed in that home was to keep Dove Day School property from having that happen. And I'm sure, I don't know if you know, the police department is over there all the time now. The residents really have two choices. They have a choice. Lovely would be a few houses and some butterflies, but really what you have to have is a company that'll come in there and build, and they're not going to build 20 houses. It's not worth it to them. Or you can have a derelict property, because I'm pretty much sure St. Martha's is not coming back. As far as Dove Day School is concerned, yes, we vacated, and we vacated because we thought this was a wonderful idea, that this would, because St. Martha was leaving. And I still, looking at the plans and looking at all they've done, I think that will be beautiful. And as my daughter said, you've already had a lot of traffic out of Dove Day School all these years. Also, the gentleman that was talking about the historic, Dove Day School's first 5 years was in the old Lucky Baldwin Estate building that was right on Lark Ellen behind the Church of Christ. And that place was leveled so fast it would make your head spin when they wanted to put houses in. So I don't think St. Martha's has that same historical value. But really, we support it, and we think that it's just a beautiful use for a piece of property. And I think that a lot of the concern is just the concern over change. Thank you.
Sandra Austin. Or as the children in her class used to call her, Mrs. Awesome.
I just wanted to say that I've been living in West Covina. My son's 21 years old, so 21 years. Regarding Dove Day, we do miss it. I'm not going to say we don't, but our children are doing so well where we are. And as a resident of West Covina, I think I would love to have neighbors that are going to take care of their home and see children playing instead of Carl's Jr. down the street from where I live. So if you're giving me a choice, I would say go with the homes and just enjoy living in a great city. That's all.
Paula Stefanko, am I saying that right? Excuse me.
My name is Paula Stefanko, and we've lived on Larkwood since 1974. And I'd like to make a couple of comments. First, it saddens me that a consideration of lowering the density of this project means that somebody won't make their bottom line, that it's not profitable for building 20 houses versus the other. I think it's more important the quality of the properties in West Covina, and that's what should be primarily considered. If you look at that aerial view, and if you expand it to the aerial view that the property people put out, you'll see that the density of these houses is dramatically smashed together compared to the other properties in the area, which have large lots, and not even large lots, but decent-sized lots on some of the surrounding streets to the north of the property. And it's difficult for me to see how this set of property is comparable to the other properties in the area with the density. We live on the end of the block at Larkwood, and I can tell you our electricity, we're constantly blowing circuit breakers. Our water pressure is low. To bring in more houses to tap those resources, to me, is only going to cause more problems in that area. And I didn't even think about St. Martha's itself. Thank you for mentioning that. My children, we had Girl Scout meetings in St. Martha's Church, and really enjoyed it. And I forgot that is a historical place, and it has been there with us since we moved in, and we've enjoyed the bells and the chimes and everything. So I do think you should also consider the fact that property is special, that church building is special. I don't go to St. Martha's, but I do appreciate the architecture and the historical significance of the property. It's been there a long time. I am opposed to lowering the minimum requirements for the lots. I'm also opposed for changing the easements to smaller, and also to removal of the trees. I think those trees are really pretty up there. So I just wanted to go on record at that, and hopefully you'll consider that, asking for this project to be downsized so it can be within the recommended. There was a reason that these were recommended. And to continually squish things together, I don't think that really does a service to our city, who has so many beautiful properties on decent-sized lots. So that's all I want to say. Hopefully you will consider downsizing, because I think that would really solve everything. I also like the idea of the single-family houses on the south side of the property, so that the people that have houses in that area can have their views unobstructed. We've been spoiled for so long, and no, it can't continue forever, but there are ways to mitigate the impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Marcelo Bawala. I'm saying that correctly. I apologize for not saying it.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Marcello Vavola with the Los Angeles Conservancy. The Los Angeles Conservancy is the largest local-based historic preservation organization in the nation with over 6,500 members. The Lark Island Residential Project has recently come to our attention, and the Conservancy has long considered St. Martha's Church to be a significant historic resource. The California Environmental Quality Act establishes a pretty low threshold in terms of considering whether a potential historic resource might be on the site. And we think there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that St. Martha's qualifies as a historic resource. We believe there is no question here. The California Environmental Quality Act calls for the need to identify and consider preservation alternatives. And as the lead agency, it is the City of West Covina's responsibility to ensure that proper environmental review takes place. Neither the Planning Commission nor the applicant should view the preparation of an EIR as halting the proposed project. To the contrary, it will merely ensure that potential historic resources are properly evaluated and preservation alternatives can be considered. And we at the Conservancy believe there's ample opportunity for development on site while retaining and adaptively reusing the former church. The design for St. Martha's received national exposure and publication. It was profiled in the leading architecture journal, Architectural Record, and was subsequently selected as one of 35 outstanding churches and synagogues from throughout the world profiled in this 1955 publication, Religious Buildings for Today. That's pretty remarkable. This is the only church in all of Southern California that made it into this book, published in 1957. Additionally, St. Martha's has been consistently profiled in all 5 editions of an architectural guidebook to Los Angeles by noted architectural historians David Gebhardt and Robert Winter. It has been published from 1965 all the way through 2003, 5 editions. It is the only structure in the entire city of West Covina that appears in any of these 5 editions. That is pretty remarkable also. I want to point out that one of the comment letters submitted to planning staff was by architectural historian Alan Hess, whose expertise is modern architecture. I have his comment letter here, and I'm going to quote a little from it. St. Martha's is, in fact, an excellent example of mid-century modern architecture, designed by an architect of note, and an example of historic trends in Southern California and West Covina in an important period of change. Continuing the quote, I write to you as an architect and historian and author of 19 books, several on Southern California's 20th century modern architecture. I have also written on architecture for the Los Angeles Review of Books, the Architect's Newspaper, the Los Angeles Times, Architectural Digest, the Journal of the Society of Architectural Historians, and other journals, and I have been the architecture critic of the San Jose Mercury News since 1986. Continuing, quoting from his letter, he did review the MND, and in response to the consultant's findings, in review of other modern churches in West Covina, this architectural historian, Ellen Hess, writes, I have reviewed these examples, and as a historian and architect, I can state that none rises to the level of St. Martha's design quality. While all 4 churches, the others noted, are modern and use elements common in the mid-century period, they vary greatly in originality and concept and skill of execution compared to St. Martha's. The design of St. Martha's stands above these in sophistication. The simplicity of its rectangular geometry should not be interpreted as a less evolved design. Modernism often used simple geometric shapes to convey beauty and function. The actual sophistication of this design can be seen in the many carefully considered details and materials. He also notes the Japanese influence in the design of the building as a reflection of the influence of Oriental architecture in California. I also want to note that the consultant who worked on the M&D is, while qualified, is not merely an expert focused on mid-century modern architecture. We understand that your consultant may have a difference in opinion, but having participated in these processes, the environmental review process, in numerous projects throughout the county, the Conservancy can say that in this instance, there is overwhelming and substantial evidence warranting the preparation of an EIR. As I mentioned earlier, CEQA sets a low threshold for the consideration of a potential historic resource. The consultant may disagree, but nonetheless, from the standpoint of the city's responsibility The combination of nationally published material on St. Martha's design, its reference in architectural guidebooks, letters from a preservation organization and from an architectural historian whose expertise is modern architecture in Southern California. This is overwhelming amount of
Speakers at 5
compelling
minutes.
information to make the fair argument per sequa that St. Martha's should be considered a historic resource. And just to close, we urge the city to reject the MND. We think it is within the best interest of the city, the California Environmental Quality Act, and the project that an EAR be prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Ravalli. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this topic? If you'll be so kind as to fill out a pink sheet after you've spoken.
Okay. My name's
Name?
Dave Morrell.
I'm sorry.
Dave Morrell, M-O-R-E-L. I'm a retired engineer. I was invited by Jerry West as an engineer just to kind of evaluate what I'm seeing. There's some wool being pulled over your eyes. There's one key thing on that plan that is not being mentioned. But if you look at the plan, it's marked not to scale. If you look at the houses, there's supposed to be 10 feet between the walls and the houses. If there's 10 feet between the walls and the houses are only 10 feet wall to wall. You know, and you know that's not 10 feet wall to wall. So once they're built, there's going to be a lot less footage of what you're seeing as far as the plan. I just wanted to make sure everybody realized there's no reason for a plan to be drawn not to scale unless you tried to pull wool over somebody's eyes.
I'm Ted Forbath, CFO, Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles. I believe I filled out a red card there, sir. I could fill out, I'm more than happy to fill out another one. With your permission, I would like to read into the record a letter from the Bishop of Los Angeles, Bishop Diocesan J. John Bruno. Dear Commission members, the impetus behind closing St. Martha's Church, West Covina, came from the congregation, from people who for many years realized they could not make necessary repairs expected to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, including seismic safety measures, as well as fund ongoing ministry. The congregation also decided it was time to reunite with the original congregation from which they came, Holy Trinity Covina. This transaction will provide for ministry at Holy Trinity, which is located 2.9 miles from the site. The two congregations have now very collegially and productively become one, intent upon service and ministry in the community. Yours in Christ, J. John Bruno. Thank you.
I'm Ray Ammentorp. I am a former member of St. Martha's and am now going to church at Holy Trinity in Covina. The main thing that I have heard tonight that I think is erroneous thinking is that this is a preservable building. If you saw the termites like I have seen for 40 years, you'd know that this building should have been torn down years ago. So as far as the preservation of a historical building, it's not a tenable thing. The other thing I would like to stress, I live about two blocks from the church site, and the thing that I would like to stress is that the architecture in our whole community changes from time to time, and I've seen it over the last 40 years that there's a beautiful house, one story, built on the corner of Service and Lark Ellen. that's enhanced the appearance of the community. I believe that this project will enhance the community. And there are many places in West Covina that I have seen that are just as dense as far as this goes. The one thing I think the city of West Covina is going to have to consider is installing a semaphore at the entrance to this project. I think there will be too much traffic and too difficult to navigate without a semaphore at that corner. But I fully support the project, and there are some inconveniences. Anytime we have change, there are inconveniences. Ask any of the St. Martha's members the inconveniences that we are seeing. Thank you.
What's a semaphore?
Sir.
I believe you're referring to a light signal, right?
What?
Signal light?
Semaphore.
You said semaphore.
Yeah, a light.
Yeah, thank you.
A signal light?
Lights.
Signal.
Lights at the entrance, and another signal just like they have at camp. And that alleviates a lot of that situation.
Are there any other members of the audience that wish to speak at this time? We're going to close the public testimony and open up the commission discussion.
Chairman, if you'd like, you can have the applicant come back and rebut any of the statements made, if you wish, since there were many
Sure,
statements made
sure.
tonight.
If you'd like to do so, that's fine.
I'm just as excited for you guys to vote as anybody, but if you would indulge me for a couple more minutes. One of the things I'd like to point out on the property there is that the houses that we have lining on the southern property line, there's less of them on our side than there are that currently exist along Larkwood right now. There are 17 homes along Larkwood that are adjacent to our property. If you look at the site plan, we'll only have 10 along there. So just one thing to keep in mind. Definitely have some spacing, so there are opportunities for view corridors. And, you know, Sharon's absolutely right. There is a great view of the mountains over there, and I think that our homes, fortunately, are not going to be tall enough to block that view in its entirety. Another concern that was brought up was the historic, with the inclusion of the church in a few historic, previous publications. The times that they were included were prior to the church being built. So they were going off of what they were hoping to see there. So all the accolades that they were receiving was based off a proposal, not what we see today, and not what was built in 1959. Other than that, I want to reiterate, I think that the traffic will be less. You know, the daycare was definitely a more intensive use. Our traffic engineer's here for an expert opinion, so believe him, you don't have to believe me. Other than that, and also too, we would be happy to support the residents in regards to the red curb along Lark Ellen and any applications for permit parking along Larkwood. We would definitely want to, again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to be a good neighbor, and we would definitely want to support the community as far as improving the quality of life, not only for them, but hopefully for the future residents of Cadenera. And again, if you have any other questions on myself or the consultants, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
If I might be able to add some questions that were asked, maybe I can kind of respond to some of those. Traffic counts. The traffic study was completed in July. The traffic counts were taken on May 8th, 2013, so they were taken early May, well before school was out. The number of units on Belinda, there's 19 that are proposed there. And we do have Miguel Hernandez here if the commission would like to hear an explanation of how the parking permit process works for neighborhoods, because there definitely is a way that neighborhoods can have permit-only parking on the street.
Thank you. Commissioners, your questions?
Couple of questions, possibly comments. It's my understanding that the historical piece of property, be it a building or a piece of property, is either through the CBSC, California Building Standard Commission, or through the California Historical Building Code, or possibly through the State Historical Building Safety Code. And I'm not familiar with all of those, so maybe some of the people in the audience know more about that. But my concern is, it states in one of the 8-101.3 that the intent of the CBSC is to, this is talking about a historical building. The intent of the CBSC is to facilitate the preservation and continued use of qualified historical buildings or properties while providing reasonable safety for the building occupants and access for people with disabilities. I have a lot of concerns about the piece of property. I've been by there several times. Property is in very poor shape. I don't know if indeed it were deemed a historical building that St. Martha's Church would be responsible for paying for the repairs that need to be made and also maintaining them. So I think that would be, candidly, I think that would be a little bit unfair to St. Martha's having to do the repairs and maintain it. One of the things that I did read about repairs, it said any repairs that are made to a historical building should be made with materials and use of existing historical methods of construction. Again, I'm not very smart on a lot of these things, but it just sounds like a lot of money to try to restore and repair and maintain the church. I'm not sure who the agency would be, who would be enforcing the agency. I don't know who would, is it an individual, or is it possibly a state agency who would apply for the historical building or property to actually be dedicated as a historical piece of property? So I've been by there several times. I am concerned with some of the traffic. I wish it was a two-lane lanes of traffic. It bothered me every time when it goes down to one lane, but it also bothers me to see the people inside the fence living, and I don't think they're supposed to be there, but they look like transients. But drive by and take a look at it. If I were a resident, I would be more than happy to see houses built there than what's there right now. I'm just very concerned with the deterioration of the property. I think it's getting worse on literally a weekly basis. That's all I have to say.
There's definitely a lot of factors to consider with this project.
Commissioners, I'm sorry to interrupt. I believe the public hearing is still open, so we should probably close the public hearing. I think we reopened it for the applicant to come back up.
Thank you. Like I was saying, there's definitely a lot of factors to consider. Traffic being I think the one that came up most frequently at the beginning. I drive north and south on Lark Ellen every day, in the morning, in the evening. That's how I go to work. Once I pass the high school, the traffic does tend to die down, but I definitely agree that the lane, when it changes to one lane, that is something we need to look at. So, I appreciate the concerns that the residents who brought that up. I think it's also important to note what Jackie Dunn pointed out and that's that there are 120 people who used to used the Dove Day daycare. And I would assume when the church was open, that had plenty of traffic too. So I'm definitely concerned with traffic impact. But as Mr. Blackburn mentioned, and my main concern every day when I drive by it, it's not pretty. I mean, there's really no other way, in my opinion, of putting it. That's not a pretty property. And I didn't write down the name, but the gentleman who pointed it out, he used to go there and he saw the termites. That's a problem. And restoring something, I mean, I think really if this building were to have been restored, it should have been done a long time ago. I don't think at the 11th hour, all of a sudden saying, hey, let's do something with this, it would have been done. In terms of density, I grew up in a community like this here in West Covina, and it was very enjoyable. And for me, you know, it wasn't a problem. Not everybody had 4 cars, although, you know, like I said, I drive up and down, north and south on Lark Ellen every day, so traffic is one of my concerns. But so are, you know, transients, homeless people, and most importantly, the best use of land in the city, and just the best outcome for the city. So I think overall, doing something with a property is better than letting it sit the way it has been. It's a problem. It's an eyesore. And, well, there's, like I said, there's a lot of factors to consider, and restoring it, I think, is unlikely. And, I mean, putting huge homes in there, like it was mentioned, the economics probably don't make sense. So it's a tough decision, but overall, I'm really pleased with what I've seen, and I'd like to see the city continue to progress. That's all I have to say.
Commissioner Baez?
Yes. Well, in regards to the project and the traffic, I think that it would be advisable right now to have the gentleman that did the study on the traffic and explain it to us. Maybe the city and the builders could get together and figure out what they can do with the street, either to widen it, so that would alleviate some of the traffic. And we have to understand, too, that changes have to come. You know, we're so set on what happened 50 years ago. Well, it's not 50 years ago, and I know, you know, we don't like to see changes, but sometimes changes is good for, we have to have progress. We can't stay at one issue or at one time. I am very pleased with the project. And as far as the building, the church itself, well, it's not so much at the church. You look at the church and it's full of termites, like it was mentioned. But then it's not only the church, but the pavement. I've been there through there, and even the pavement, it's just breaking up. So it'd be very costly to renovate a building as such. And who's going to carry the expenses? So I'm very pleased with what I see, and so we just have to move on. That's all I can say.
I think it might be appropriate, since the gentleman came to join us tonight to talk about parking, that since there were some issues that were raised on what you might do to take care of issues of parking in that area, we might ask him to address how you would do that.
You can reopen the public hearing and
Well, I'm sorry, Chairman Menifee, are you speaking about staff or the?
Staff.
Okay.
traffic, or the parking, okay.
So neighborhood parking, I think, is a question.
Well, it's pretty simple, really. What we do is we'll get the requests from the resident, and then we'll survey the residents that are affected with the permanent parking request, and we'll send a letter with a return postcard asking you whether you're in favor or against, and just simply return the card. And what we require is just a simple majority of the residents that live on that street.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've done a lot of soul searching since we received this material last week, and I think I really like what's being proposed to us. I get concerned about issues of the number of children and the impact on our schools. I get concerned about green space, but I think those things have been relatively addressed. We'd all like to see a lot more green space in every place we go, and the truth of the matter is we don't. I think there's some nice compromises in the plans that we received and in the discussions I've heard. And so I'm in favor of this project for our fair city. Any other discussion? I'd like to ask the staff to give us the resolution numbers, please.
Yes, there are two resolutions, so the resolution numbers will be 13-5535 for the zone change and 13-5536 for the tract map and tree removal permit.
Make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Is there a second? Okay. Moved by Commissioner Blackburn, seconded by Commissioner Baez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Thank you.
So this item will be scheduled for the city council hearing as required for the zone change. We will be sending out notices just as we did for this meeting for that meeting.
Thank you. The next item of business is the conditional use permit 1311, a categorical exemption. The applicant is Aim Hire Incorporated. It's located at 1751 East Roland Avenue. The request is to allow operations of a 5,567 square foot adult daycare facility for developmentally disabled adults. Staff report, please.
Give us 1 second to change the
Sure.
presentation.
All right.
Ron Garcia will be presenting that staff report.
Sir, we request that you exit the council chambers. We are proceeding with a public hearing.
Chairman, members of the Commission, before you, the project consists of a request to allow an adult daycare facility for developmentally disabled adults within an existing
Well, I'm sorry, but could you keep your comments? This is a meeting of the Planning Commission, so.
But we're a part of the, we're civilian citizens. We have we want to hear what he has to say. We can't understand it.
Chairman, could you hear?
Sir, your request was heard, so we will proceed with that. Thank you.
Chairman, members of the Commission, the project consists of a request to allow an adult daycare facility for disabled adults within an existing 5,567 square foot building located northwest of the corner of Roland and Azusa Avenue. The building was previously occupied by medical and office professional use. The applicant is proposing a business operation which operates adult daycare centers throughout Northern California and the city of Covina. The applicant has indicated the center will be open 5 days per week. Business hours will be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The center would accommodate 18 staff members and a maximum of 75 clients. The facility will be providing transportation as needed for clients from their homes to the facility and back. Clients will be dropped off and picked up within the parking lot of the facility. The applicant has submitted a business operations plan that provides a general description of the business, which has been included in your staff report. The business operations plan indicates that the clients for participation include 18 to 59 years of age that are diagnosed with a disability, which could be some level of autism, cerebral palsy, and epilepsy. The services provided at the proposed facility will provide vocational and educational training, arts and crafts, community integration, and independent skills. Additionally, the facility mainly focuses on educational training programs and is neither a healthcare facility nor a treatment program. The applicant has noted that parking would not be a concern in the operation of the center because 50% of the program functions take place outside of the center. The applicant indicated that it would be a rare occasion for the facility to use the maximum amount of parking required. Based on the proposed use, the limited hours of operation, and the existing uses at the site, it is anticipated that the parking demand will not exceed the amount of parking available. In the unlikely event that a parking problem develops, staff has included conditions to allow the commission to review the issue. In conclusion, staff is recommending approval of the center, generally have limited impact on neighboring uses and provide a needed service. These types of centers are low-intensity use based on the number of employees and the fact that participants will be transported by shuttle. Parking impact should be limited. Staff believes that the addition of the proposed daycare facility will be a unique and beneficial addition to the shopping center and provide a complimentary service to the area. Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit 1311. That concludes staff's presentation. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of staff?
Yes, staff. Ron, what kind of facility was it previously? You've mentioned medical?
It was a medical and office professional use.
Mr. Garcia, I'm wondering about that alleyway or whatever we're referring it to that runs to the west side of the property between Food for Less, that large shopping area to the north, and Roland.
Right.
It appears to me there's a lot of traffic, not a lot as relates to Roland, but there's some traffic that moves back and forth to that shopping center. I hope that was taken into consideration.
The existing shopping center does have reciprocal access from Roland and Azusa, whether you enter the shopping center from Azusa and exit onto Roland.
Right.
But it does have reciprocal access. The applicant did take into consideration and staff did take into consideration the egress and ingress of the site, given that the applicant is proposing a pickup and drop-off. The clients that utilize the center will not be driving there on their own.
And the applicant is here to respond to this type of questions as well.
Okay. All right, at this time, we'll open the public testimony, and we might start by asking Mr. Davis if he's here or a representative to come forth.
We'll be using very limited spaces, within that area. There is, when I was there, I did notice people use that to get to the shopping center. There's also the access from Norm's Restaurant. There's also a couple also on Visa. But we
The only question I have is in terms of the safety for clients. I mean, what kind of, just out of curiosity, what kind of systems are in place to make sure there's no one wandering off?
The staff to client ratio is 41 or something like that. So there's, I mean, between staff members to regulators and looking at the we have some outdoor patios and things like that. It's pretty much supervision is probably important. Independent, the severity of some of the conditions of patients
Thank you.
I have some questions. In the report, it explains your employees that you're going to be having there. However, you have the adults, they have challenging problems. It doesn't state whether you're going to have a nurse there to administer the medication if they need it, because I know working with epilepsy, sometimes they have seizures, cerebral palsy, they're in wheelchairs. What do you have to provide in case there's an emergency?
I think, and I can have Mr. Combs from the Covina office maybe respond to that. This is a staff report, they didn't indicate that the staff were all trained to, I think, administer the medication. It's not a care facility, it's more of an activity situation. But I think I'm pretty sure most of the staff are trained for the position that they have. And again, I guess the patients are also look like the severity that they have.
But your staff, are they certified?
They are. He operates Covina. He's the director of the Covina facility. I'm the program director over at Covina. We run 56 consumers, 16 staff there. And to answer your question, yes, they get extensive training. They get certified through several hours of training. I think we're doing about 4 hours of training a month. And it all varies from learning how to care for epileptic seizures, grand mal seizures, petite seizures. And we do have medication, and we all get medication training. My staff all get it, so that they receive the training they need for the clients that we're going to be holding. As a matter of fact, our focus on the West Covina office is going to be geared to a little more higher functioning consumer than we have in Covina. We're going to tend to be in the community a lot more than you're saying. I think 50% of the time we're there, half of them won't be there. They're going to be out in the community with volunteer projects and things like that with the community. But to answer your question, yes, we do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else, go ahead.
I wanted to take the off subject on the last issue that was on the agenda. Mr. Winslow, the architect of the church, was one of my professors in college.
Would anyone else wish to speak on this topic?
Was he a good professor?
Yes, sir, if you'd like to come forward and address us.
Well, I wasn't really prepared to speak on or comment on this, but just your concern, is this facility, is it a licensed facility?
Excuse me, sir, you're here to address the commission?
Oh, okay, then.
If we need some clarification, we'll ask for that. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Questions are being asked about if they can provide for the clients. The question is this a licensed facility, licensed by the state, that they have to follow regulations when you're dealing with these type of people, that they have the equivalent staff ratio and experience and training and certification? Them saying that doesn't tell me anything. I want to know that if the city of West Covina is going to allow a facility open that's going to handle developmentally
Disabled.
functional, right, that they're certified by a state agency that allows them to open this kind of facility. I don't want these popping all over West Covina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, to answer this question, yes, we are licensed by CCL, which is licensing across the state of California. We are governed by the San Diego Regional Center, which oversees from Pomona down to the Honda area, and that's who we vendor for. So Regional Center is state program, and we are state.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll close the public testimony and open it to any commission discussion.
Well, I'll go first. Knowing that it's licensed by the state and regulated by the state, and given the fact that it seems to be a need in not only our community, but probably communities all across everywhere. I think it's good that you're going to be able to make use of the property. So, you know, like I said, like the public comment was, as long as you know, all laws, regulations are being met, care for the clients are being met. You know, I commend you on working on this. So, thank you.
I would just like to thank you for bringing your facility to West Covina. I've heard some good things about the Covina project, and it's understand that it's a senior participation, but it's between 18 and 59-year-olds, adults, and I think it's a great facility you've proposed, again, for the disabilities that have been listed. So I would welcome you to West Covina.
And I would just add my congratulations to you also. I believe your type of facility is needed, and I've looked at some of the other locations where you are currently operating. We seem very pleased with what's going on, so thank you. Staff, resolution, please.
Resolution number is 15-5537.
We hear a motion to approve.
Motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you. All right, non-hearing items. So we have a study session on R1 standards, please.
Study session is on Code Amendment 1303, which is Code Amendment to examine single-family residential standards. And Planning Commission is familiar. We've been, I think this is our third study session on the item. Originally started out with 6 standards to review. You know, at the August 27th study session, the Planning Commission concluded that 3 they would not be recommending any changes to. That would be appropriate pad size, building height and number of stories, and common area maintenance for drainage and landscaping the slopes. So no further evaluation was done on those. But the other 3, the remaining 3, we had some little bit more evaluation that's going to be provided here tonight. Those 3 are the ratio of pad size to floor area, standards for review process for decks, and third, the standards for covered parking. So I'm going to go through this chart with you. First one there you see is ratio of pad size to floor area. Currently there is a zoning standard that establishes a ratio between the lot size and the floor area of the house. However, there is no zoning standard establishing a ratio between a pad size and the floor area of a house. I won't go into any more detail on that because we've talked about this several times. I think you all understand what the issue is there. The four options, we did look at these options before. I believe option 1, no change. Option 2, require a maximum pad size ratio of 50%. Option 3, require a 10-foot level access area behind each house. And option 4, require a 15-foot level access area behind each house. The discussion we had at the previous study session was between whether there should be a 10 or a 15-foot. Staff's recommendation requiring a 10-foot area, level area, emergency access area behind each house will allow for access and reduce encroachment into slope areas. The code amendment should include language that grandfathers houses that currently exist that do not comply with the new requirement. And there are some areas in town where there are very steep slopes and there are very small pad areas, especially I think off over near the South Hills Golf Course and in the areas just above Gulster Park and that vicinity. Those two areas come to mind that I'm familiar with. They may not be able to comply with this standard because the house has already been built without any level access area. And we did talk about that one of the neighboring cities has a level access area, but I think the Planning Commission last time we talked about study session was kind of leaning towards a 15-foot. So I guess now might be appropriate for the Planning Commission to kind of weigh in on that, see if you need more information or if you want to make a decision on whether it's option 3 or option 4.
We do that at this point?
I think it'd be best to do it one at a time, yes.
Yeah, I remember last time we were talking about, whether 10 or 15 would be appropriate. I measured and I, walked around. I think 15 is not necessary, in my opinion. 10 is sufficient. Last time I was leaning more towards 15, but I think 10's good.
I agree. We had talked about that. I got 10 feet.
I would agree on 10 foot.
Okay, everybody's comfortable with 10 feet, so we will go with that. All right, the second standard, standards and review process for decks. Municipal code requires that decks between 4 feet and 8 feet in height obtain the approval and administrative use permit. I think you're mostly familiar with that. Issued decks over 8 feet in height are not allowed by the code, must obtain a variance. An administrative use permit does require a 300-foot notification of the surrounding property owners and residents. So 3 options that are before you. Option 1, allow an administrative use permit for decks up to 10 feet in height. Option 2, no change. Option 3, require 50% greater side yard setback and a minimum 25-foot rear yard for decks requiring the approval of administrative use permit. And option 3, I believe that we had pretty much settled on that. The commission had pretty much settled on that. I wanted to bring that back just to make sure that everyone was clear what we would be drafting language for. But I think, and I'm seeing nods in agreement that option 3 is what the commission wants to go with. Okay. All right. Go ahead and go to the next slide. We have 2 issues kind of to discuss on standards for covered parking. And I think the first one is we pretty much came to a conclusion last time as well. Currently, the code requires 2 covered parking spaces no matter how large the house is. The code further requires 2 open parking spaces for each house. However, the larger the floor area of the house, the greater the number of open parking spaces are required. So the 4 options, option 1, no change. Option 2, adopt a standard requiring 3 covered parking spaces when the house has a floor area of 4,500 square feet or greater. Option 3, adopt a standard requiring 3 covered parking spaces when the house has 5 or more bedrooms. Option 4, adopt a standard requiring 3 covered parking spaces when the floor area of the house is greater than 4,500 square feet or the house has 5 or more bedrooms, in whichever case. And that is what we're suggesting. Again, and we did discuss this last time also, we would like to include language that grandfathers existing houses, because there may be houses that already exist that are over both of those or either one of those thresholds. And the reason for that is because the code says if the house is more than 50% destroyed, it has to be rebuilt under the same standard. So we want to put in grandfathering to allow those houses to not be non-conforming structures.
Does this concept of 3 garages include the possibility of a tandem?
That is number 4. So
it is. All right.
Jumped ahead of us.
Excuse me.
It's all right. We comfortable with option 4 then on the covered parking?
Yes, I think that's appropriate.
Okay. All right, we'll move into standards for covered parking tandem spaces, which is the last bit of discussion we need to have. Currently, the code requires 2 covered parking spaces and 2 uncovered parking spaces. Given that we're establishing standards that anything over 4,500 square feet or 5 bedrooms requires 3-car garage, the issue of tandem spaces all should be considered. Currently, the code requires a 20-foot by 20-foot garage area, so tandem parking spaces cannot be used for required parking today for required 2-car parking space. However, extra parking spaces now can be placed behind the 20 by 20 area. So option 1, there's really only 2 options here. You either allow it or you don't. So option 1 is to allow a tandem space to comply with the requirement for 3-car garage. Option 2, require a 3-car garage with each space accessible from the driveway. And what that would entail would be probably a 20 by 30 garage, so 20 by 20. So you'd have, and it would require 3 garage doors, be that kind of language. In reviewing this, staff is recommending option 1. Allowing the 3rd-car garage as a tandem garage will require the same square footage as a traditional 3-car garage. 3-car garages can dominate the front elevation of a house in a negative way, and allowing a 2-car garage with tandem parking space can improve the aesthetics of a house. In addition, many additions to existing houses will be required to add a 3-car garage, necessitating the remodel of the first floor of the house to accommodate a 3-car garage. And I can go into that a little bit. I'll walk through that a little bit further. So many times today we get houses that are 1-story houses, and they are going to add a 2nd story. And they have a 2-car garage, and they have a side yard setback that the 2-car garage is right up against the setback. So if the city chooses to require 30-foot wide garage, they're going to have to convert part of their house to garage. And as you're probably aware, many times what's next to the garage is the kitchen, and so it will necessitate a lot of changes when you have houses in single-story neighborhoods going to 2-story. So that's one of the issues that we had thought that will come up and will be problematic for many people in having to really redesign their whole bottom floor. So those are the issues, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions or hear some discussion from the Planning Commission.
The opportunity for a variance is still allowable, however, right?
Opportunity for a variance would be allowable, that's true.
I think that's the aesthetics, I think, are very important to consider, and like you said, it would be very problematic for, to change the kitchen or what have you. And I think it would also allow for, boat parking if anyone chooses that. So that's kind of convenient. I like it. I'm okay. I like option 1.
Yeah, I do too. I think the concept of tandem parking, while it may be a pain in the neck for the people there, will have to be taken into consideration by them as an alternative. They can always go 3 wide if they want to, I'm sure, to meet that, but they won't be required to, so that would be their choice.
Yes, yes.
Actually, I thought we approved option 1 the last time, but that would be my choice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the conclusion. So what I foresee, the next step would be for staff to prepare code language and bring it back to the Planning Commission in a public hearing setting to allow you to make a formal recommendation to the City Council. So if we're all in agreement with those changes, we will be drafting that and coming back to you hopefully within a month or so with that hearing.
Thank you. Any other oral communications? This is the time when any member of the commission may bring a matter to the attention of the full commission that is within the scope of their duties as assigned to the commission. Any item that was considered during the agenda is not appropriate for discussion in this section of the agenda. No commission discussion or action can be considered at this time. If a commission desires to discuss an issue raised by a speaker or take an action, the commission may vote to agendize the matter for a future meeting. Okay. Planning Director's report.
Planning Director's report, we do have the subcommittee minutes for one of the meetings last month, so just there for your edification.
And any city council action.
I have nothing to report on city council action.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. We're adjourned.